Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech, and in this video, I'll be unboxing and doing a quick hands-on review of the Realme 6 Pro. So guys, here's the box and here's some basic information. This phone is available in 3 variants. Base variant is priced at 18,000 rupees for 6GB of RAM and 64GB of storage. Next variant is priced at 19,000 rupees for 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. And the final top-end variant is priced at 20,000 rupees for 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. It's available in 3 colors: lightning blue, lightning red and lightning orange. And we have the lightning blue color with us right now. Now there are a lot of cool things with this phone. You get a 90Hz ultra smooth display, a 68 megapixel primary camera, fast charging up to 30 watts, that's the 30 watts flash charging, which is super fast. You also get pretty decent performance with a Snapdragon 720G processor, and that's just the beginning. So overall, there are a lot of cool things packed into this phone, and even the pricing is pretty decent. So without any further delays, let's first have a physical overview of the box. So this is the box, and they are sticking with their trademark yellow color for the entire box packaging, and it looks pretty minimalistic and pretty decent, I would say. On the front it says #1 quality smartphone brand, followed by 6 Pro, and at the bottom we have the Realme branding. It looks pretty similar to their packaging. On the left side we have the complete name, that's the Realme 6 Pro. On the right side it says the same, Realme 6 Pro. At the top they have just the Realme branding. Finally at the bottom we have some specs and some more information. On the back side we have the most highlighting features, that's mainly the cameras, 30 watts flash charging, punch hole design and a Snapdragon 720G processor. And down below we have the IMEI numbers, Made in India logo and so on. Now without any further delays, let's just get on with the unboxing. Now it's done. So at the top we have a cardboard box. It says, "Hey, welcome to Realme family," and the Realme branding at the bottom. On the back side it says, "Let's embrace a new journey." Inside the box we get some documentation along with a transparent silicone case. We'll come back to that later. Next we have the phone itself. Let me just put that aside. Next we have a 30 watts flash charger, which looks pretty similar to OnePlus and Oppo's charger, and a USB Type-C charging cable with yellow color inside. So this is a proprietary cable which definitely looks much better than regular Type-C cable. Now let me just put everything aside and come back to the phone itself. Oh, by the way, you get that. So the phone is packed inside this plastic wrapping, and on the back side we also get a sticker with IMEI numbers. Let's ignore that. Now this is how the phone looks on the front, and this is how the phone looks on the back. This is the lightning blue color, and you get that lightning flash on the back. Now let's have a physical overview. On the back this phone has a 3D curved fiberglass, and underneath that we have this flashing effect, which definitely looks pretty different from other phones in a cheesy way. Anyway, on the top left corner we have the quad camera setup followed by single LED flash, and at the bottom we have the Realme branding. On the front you get a massive display with a punch hole design with a dual camera setup inside it, protected by a 2.5D curved glass, and this phone also comes with a free screen guard pre-applied. Above the display we have the earpiece, and below the display it's completely plain, and the chin is slightly bigger considering the price. Now for the sides, on the right side it has a power button which also acts like a fingerprint scanner. On the left side it has a SIM card tray housing 2 nano SIM slots along with a dedicated SD card slot. That's followed by 2 volume buttons made of plastic. They have a nice clicky feel to them, and they are sufficiently elevated. At the top it has just the secondary microphone for noise cancellation, and finally at the bottom it has a 3.5mm audio jack followed by the primary microphone, USB Type-C charging port and the speaker grill. Initial impressions, phone kinda feels thick, and in terms of weight it's not too heavy. Weight distribution is also pretty decent, but it has a bit of weight to it, and considering this phone has just 4300 mAh battery, I'd say Realme could have done a much better job. Either increase the battery size or reduce the form factor and the overall weight itself. Anyway, those are my initial impressions. Now these are the complete specifications of this phone. On the rear, this phone has a quad camera setup with a 64 megapixel primary camera with f1.8 aperture, followed by an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera with 119-degree field of view and f2.3 aperture. That's followed by a 12 megapixel telephoto lens with f2.5 aperture and a 4 megapixel macro camera with f2.4 aperture. For selfies, It has a 16 megapixel primary camera with f2.0 aperture and an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera with f2.2 aperture. On the front, it has a massive 6.6 inch Full HD Plus display with 90Hz refresh rate, 90.6% screen to body ratio, protected by a 2.5D curved Corning Gorilla Glass 5. Under the hood, it sports a Snapdragon 720G processor with Adreno 618 GPU, LPDDR4X RAM, and UFS 2.1 storage. On the software front, it will be running Realme's very own custom version of Android called Realme UI based on Android 10. When it comes to battery department, this phone packs a decently large 4300 mAh battery along with a 30 watts flash charger. You can charge this phone completely from 0 to 100% in less than 60 minutes. So guys, these are the complete specifications. Now let me turn on the phone and set it up and come back to you in a second. Now this is how the phone looks once we put on the case. This particular case is just a soft silicone case with a black tint to it, and once we put on the case, it does provide some extra protection. So it has a tiny bit of raised lip for the camera module, so even when you place your phone directly on its back, cameras won't get scratched easily, considering it's a flat surface. Even on the front, there is a tiny bit of raised lip, so even when you place your phone directly on its face, on a flat surface, display won't get scratched. With that said, it's just a regular TPU case, so it just gives you some extra grip, prevents smudges, that's all. So if you want better protection, I'd suggest you to get a better case as soon as possible. Now with that said, this is how the phone looks once we turn it on and set it up. So this is the default home launcher, this is how the phone looks once we turn it on, and you can do a swipe up gesture to open the app drawer. These are all the applications that come pre-installed. There is definitely quite a bit of bloatware, but we can uninstall them if you want. Now let's check out the storage information. By the way guys, this Realme UI is different from what you see on Oppo phones, at least definitely different from previous Realme phones. Now the UI is definitely much better. So right now we are in the settings page. Let's check out storage. So out of that 128GB of storage, around 16GB of space is used. So we get about 112GB of space for our user apps and user data. Now for the memory usage, select Recent Tasks Manager and make sure you enable this particular toggle. Then you can see the memory usage in the Recent Apps page. Let's go there once again. So out of that 8GB of RAM, we have about 5.24GB of RAM free right out of the box. Now let's check out the About page. So this phone is running Realme UI version 1.0 and as of now it has Android 10 with June security patch, which is pretty good. Now let's check out the camera interface. So this is the camera interface for the rear camera, and you have a toggle over here to switch between different cameras. By default, we are using the primary 64 megapixel camera, and if you click it once, it will switch to the telephoto lens with 2x optical zoom. If you click it again, it will switch to 5x digital zoom. Once you click it again, it will switch to the wide angle camera. So these are the different cameras that we have. Next, at the top over here, we have a toggle for dazzle mode or chroma boost mode, which simply makes colors look a bit more popped out. Next, if we go to video recording, we can record video with any of these cameras, and we also get some cool new features. First, we have ultra stable mode. You can enable it using that toggle. We also have something called ultra stable pro mode. You can enable it from here. In my personal experience, ultra stable mode works better than ultra stable pro mode. I'll show you sample shots later. We also have a brand new feature that allows us to record video with a background blur effect, and for that, select that toggle. Using this slider, we can change the amount of background blur effect we want, even while recording a video. Next, we also have a dedicated night mode which works with all the rear cameras and even with the selfie camera, and that too with dual selfie cameras. Now if we go to the right side, we have the regular portrait mode, and once again on this phone, we can change the amount of background blur effect we want before taking a portrait shot using the slider over here. Next, we have a dedicated 64MP mode. Even though this phone has a 64 megapixel camera, by default, it doesn't take 64 megapixel pictures. So for some reason, if you want to take a 64 megapixel picture, you need to use this mode. If we go to the more section, we also get macro mode, and using this you can take macro shots. I guess that's pretty much explained. Now let's switch to the front camera. Every time you switch to the front cameras, you get a cool animation over here. Let me just show you that once again. And here we go. So this is the interface for the front camera. Once again, we have the regular video recording, a dedicated night mode for the front camera as well, and you can also use a wide angle camera with night mode, which is pretty good. On the right side, we have the regular portrait mode. Once again, we can change the amount of background blur effect you want before taking a portrait selfie. Following that, we have these additional features. So guys, this is the camera interface and these are some sample shots. Now let's try the fingerprint scanner. This phone uses the power button as the fingerprint scanner itself, and you can just touch it to unlock the phone. This is the default setting and it's pretty annoying. Before I get to show you how to tweak it, let's just try out the fingerprint scanner. I just need to touch it to unlock. As you can see, fingerprint scanner is super fast, but when you touch it with other fingers, you get a subtle vibration saying that it's a wrong fingerprint, and when you do it many times, it'll just lock your phone. So to prevent that, we have a nice little trick. To enable that, go to settings, then select fingerprint face and password, fingerprint. Now select screen off unlock. By default, it is set to light touch. So that means whenever you touch the fingerprint scanner, it'll try to unlock the phone. I would suggest you to set it to firm touch. Once you do that, when your phone is locked, no matter how many times you touch the fingerprint scanner, it doesn't work. Even when you use the correct fingerprint, it doesn't work. You have to literally press it to unlock. When you're in the lock screen, you can just touch it to unlock. So this little trick can be really useful. Now let's test the face unlock feature. Once again, I've already set it up and here we go. It's super fast, just like the other Oppo and Realme phones. And you also get a nice haptic feedback every time it unlocks the phone. By the way, haptic engine on this phone is not great. It's not good, but it's not horrible either. It's barely manageable. Now let's test it in complete darkness. And here we go. Even in complete darkness, it's pretty fast and it's trying to increase the screen brightness to compensate for the low light. So it's definitely working, and I guess it's much more convenient to use it instead of this fingerprint scanner. Now let's test the speaker loudness. This phone has just a single speaker at the bottom and that's it, no stereo speakers. So guys, that was the speaker loudness. It's definitely sufficient for ringtones, alarms and media consumption. In fact, I am pretty satisfied with it. Now this phone also comes with a 90Hz refresh rate display. You obviously can't see how fluid it is in this video, but I am able to personally experience how fluid it is. There's definitely a huge difference between a regular 90Hz display and a 60Hz display, and this display is definitely much better. I still wish it was an OLED panel and Realme could have given us an in-display fingerprint scanner, but I guess considering the price and overall features this phone packs, it's still a pretty good deal. You can also change the screen refresh rate settings from the display settings. You just go over here and we have something called screen refresh rate. By default, it is set to auto. Doing this might help you save some battery, but might affect the overall experience. So I'll just go with the 90Hz as default. Besides that, we also have a dedicated dark mode, which we can enable directly from the display settings. And once you enable it, all the system UI elements change to the dark mode. Even some of the stock applications like the phone dialer, messaging application also change to the dark mode. Even some Google applications like the Play Store or YouTube also switch to the dark mode. And it should switch. Let's try it again. So here's, okay, it's not working for some reason, but you can go to settings and change it to dark mode. Besides that, we also have the same old sidebar. You can access it from here. And these are some quick shortcuts. Now, before I conclude, these are the benchmark scores. So guys, this is the new Realme 6 Pro. It definitely packs in a lot of stuff, mainly that 90Hz display, punch hole design, and that 30 watts flash charging definitely adds a lot of value to it. But I still think the price is a bit too high, considering the base variant starts at 18,000 rupees. If it was priced around 15,000 rupees, it would have been a killer deal. So guys, what do you think about this phone? Do let me know by commenting below this video. So guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching. This particular video is being recorded using the Realme 6 Pro itself, using its primary front-facing camera. and audio is from the phone itself, so you can check out the noise cancellation as well. Now with that said, if you're planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It always helps the channel. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Have a nice day.